Hey, how about you, everybody? Welcome into the Monday edition of Inside the 20 with myself and Keith Niebuhr. We're going to do our best to get all the recruiting intel we can to you inside the 20-minute mark. I am joined, as I always am, by Mr. Keith Niebuhr. Keith, how you doing, big dog?
I'm good, man. That was some game last night, some fight from the Tigers, and we got a lot of recruiting to talk about. Listen, it's actually picking up again.
Really?
So there's plenty to talk about with this big Texas A&M weekend coming up. So I know you got to get to an ad first, and we'll get right to it.
Whew, got a lot to talk about before we do, man. We want everybody to know that Caleb Schofield, big Auburn guy, man, really good guy. If you're looking for a car, if you know somebody who's looking for a car, Is that what I said? New or used. Give Caleb a call, 334-531-0996. He's in LaGrange, Georgia at Mike Patton Auto. But, dude, that guy will ship it to you anywhere in the country. Great prices. And also, this week, everything, invoice, sticker price, all week long. Give him a call, 334-531-0996. Got new Ford, Lincoln, Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, Ram, Honda. Fantastic used car lot. All used cars have to pass a multi-point inspection before they even think about selling them. They back those cars with a free 3-month, 3,000-mile warranty. And the new cars are even better. Free lifetime powertrain warranty, unlimited time, unlimited mileage. And if you're not in the market for a new car and you know somebody who is, send them to Caleb. He'll give you $300. Can't hardly beat it, man. Keith has been there. He's used Caleb. He had a new, slightly used Ford Bronco. Hey, Keith.
Yo.
Auburn goes to Mississippi State. Damn near comes out of there with the upset. You got a lot of momentum coming out of that game. And we're starting to see, it's not that these guys haven't had some little bit of momentum since the firing of Brian Harsin, but certainly seeing an uptick in recruiting, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, people are asking me, how are they recruiting? They don't even have a long-term permanent head coach here. You got an interim head coach in Cadillac Williams. Well, you sell all the other things about Auburn. You sell all these other things, the program itself, the school, the community, the new football-only facility that's going to be opened in December, the fact that the dorms they still look brand new even though they're 10 years old, right across the street from the current athletic complex. You're selling all these things. You're in the SEC. Opportunity to play early. Look at the roster. There's some major needs. And so what you're trying to do is you're trying to keep these guys interested just long enough so then when you have a new head coach in place, probably we think, and by early December, that kids that are still interested are going to give that new head coach a shot. Now, obviously, the caveat is that new head coach has to want them. Okay, so we don't know that part yet. But if you like a kid now, this current staff, they're continuing to work hard on a lot of the same kids and some other ones as well, just trying to keep them interested in Auburn, talking about Auburn, the vibe of Auburn, and the opportunity there. And so then whoever the new coach is, they'll hand those notes over to that person. A lot of the guys will still be here, by the way, through the first signing period, and many perhaps through the second signing period in February. And they'll be able to collaborate with whoever the new head coach is, along with whoever he brings in those early few weeks of his tenure. And they'll sit down and they'll figure out, okay, now who are we as Auburn going to pursue? But you have to keep people interested. And that's not just 2023 kids. Those are the kids that are seniors now. But that's the 2024 and 2025 kids. They're forming big impressions of Auburn right now. So who Auburn's head coach is isn't yet a big deal to them because they're just trying to see what schools do I like. They can wait. It is a big deal, but 3 or 4 weeks isn't going to matter to them. They're going to know in no time who Auburn's head coach is. So you're trying to get those guys on campus too, to games, to see that atmosphere that we think it's going to be pretty electric this weekend. And so this coming weekend. And so you're just doing all those things. And I think Auburn's done a good job of that. They've gotten Cadillac Williams on the phone with so many recruits last week. And they're listening. The assistants, look, we don't know if any of these assistants are going to be around. We have no idea. But most of them have been in a situation like this before. They're pros. They know what to do. This is the part where you don't sell yourself as much. You sell everything else a lot. Okay, now if you get the word from the new coach, hey, you're staying, then you can go back to kind of selling yourself a little bit within that larger dynamic. But right now they're selling Auburn. Kids are listening. Look, kids like Auburn. They're all curious to see who the head coach is. If Auburn does it right, they're going to be in it with a lot of these guys, I think.
And a lot of those guys, man, coming up from South Florida this weekend, you had some news on that earlier or this past weekend. We know that they're tentatively right now expecting 6 official visitors. And some big dogs coming up from South Florida, also on unofficial visits. Keith, talk about some of the guys you've talked to, what you're hearing from the South Florida region.
Yeah, well, first of all, let me just start off with there's going to be a couple 5-stars that we expect in. 2 receivers from Hollywood, Chaminade, Madonna down in South Florida. Jeremiah Smith, he's the number 2 player in the country for next year. And I can't ever pronounce his name. I think it's Josiah, but I'm not sure. Trader. So those are 2 5-star junior receivers from Hollywood, Chaminade, Madonna. Reuben Bain, the 4-star edge rusher in this class from Miami Central. He'll be there. One of the official visitors you're going to talk about, Stanquan Clark, 4-star linebacker from Miami Central. Lamar Seymour, Miami Central receiver, currently committed to Pitt. Remember last year Auburn flipped a receiver from Pitt, Camden Brown, who knows all these kids, by the way. Here's another one, Edwin Joseph, coming in for an official as of right now. 4-star cornerback from Hollywood, Chaminade, Madonna. Auburn, FSU, Louisville, the main schools there. Auburn's also working to get Antoine Jackson in. He's a 4-star cornerback from a school that, Jeffrey, you know, and a lot of Auburn fans know, Fort Lauderdale Dillard. He's a Miami commit. Miami does not want him to visit. Adrian Posse, the 4-star quarterback in the 2024 class, committed to Auburn from Hialeah Gardens in the Miami area. He's going to be there. Zaquan Patterson, a 4-star safety from Chaminade, Madonna, a junior. He's going to be there. Their quarterback, a 4-star kid that's in the junior class, Cedric Bailey, he's going to be there. So Rock Bellantoni, Steven Ruzick, Cadillac Williams, and quite frankly, Jeffrey, the last staff, the guys that, not the last staff, but yeah, look, Brian Harsin, Darren Usher, they played a role in this. And this was arranged before they were let go by Auburn. But still getting these kids to visit this coming weekend is significant. And here's an interesting one of note. Keyone Jenkins is how you pronounce it. Quarterback from Miami Central. He's won 2 state titles with that program, probably about to win his 3rd. He's been a high school starter since the 8th grade. He actually started as an 8th grader, Jeffrey, at the school that Adrian Pass is at right now, Mater Academy. He's won over 40 games in high school. He's got 2 state championship rings. Committed to FIU. Auburn is talking to him about being a preferred walk-on, and he's strongly considering giving up, Jeffrey, scholarship money to go to FIU, which is right down the road, and walking on at Auburn in hopes that he could earn a scholarship. Lefty quarterback, but he's the cousin of Reuben Bain, 4-star edge. He's extremely close with Seymour, the receiver they're trying to flip from Pitt. They're best friends. They've all played together since they were, 7, 8 years old. And he's also tight with Stanquan Clark, the 4-star linebacker. He told me just on Sunday, this young man, Keyone Jenkins, it's so hard to pronounce his name, Keyone, he told me, he said, listen, Reuben Bain and I want to go to the same school. He says, if I go to a school, he's probably going to go. He goes to school, I'm probably going to go. And I didn't put this in our insider, I said, well, if you end up at Auburn, what do you think the chances are that Auburn lands Reuben Bain? And he said, over 90%. So we'll see. Now, we'll see. We've heard of these kind of things before.
Sure.
Always materialize. But Auburn is smartly putting together a situation that's friendly for all these guys. They're best friends. They want to play together in college. But it's amazing. This young guy thinks, you know what, I believe I belong in the SEC. I'm willing to bypass scholarship money to go up there on my own. He's an A's and B's student, by the way. He might be able to get some scholarship money too, but he's going to go, if he picks Auburn, he would go up to Auburn on his own and try to make that, to earn that scholarship. And that's commendable too. He's a winner. I don't think he's got the strongest arm in the world, and he's not Lamar Jackson agile. He just puts the ball in the right place every time and he wins. He does things right. That Miami Central offense is humming right now. I mean, they are world beaters. So that's a real interesting one to watch. That would be one of the bigger preferred walk-on commitments we've seen in the last 20 years at Auburn, quite frankly, because of what it could lead to, perhaps, Where do you think that Auburn interest is coming from down there? I mean, is it Rock Bellantoni? Yes, Rock Bellantoni. I was screaming there. Yeah, Rock Bellantoni, the edge coach. But, Auburn's always had – yeah. Auburn's always had great cred down there. What's our friend, the DB, the hitter, the great hitter? Junior Rosegreen. Him being from down there. Frank Sanders at Dillard. James Bostic at Dillard. Anthony Schwartz from, where was he at? American Heritage. Sure. John Shivers from Hollywood Chaminade. And also there's a 7-on-7 team down there, DEF CON. and they've got a ton of guys. I think Adrian Posse plays on that team. This quarterback, Keywan Jenkins, he plays on that team. I think Posse does. I'm trying to get all my 7-on-7.
Sure.
There's some connections there too. They brought a bunch of these kids up in the summer to Auburn. They brought them up in previous summers. They love Auburn. Look, if you live in that concrete jungle of a Miami, Fort Lauderdale, Atlanta, whatever, New Orleans, you go to a place like Auburn, it's not for everybody. Obviously, no school is for everybody. But, Jeffrey, you take a kid out of South Florida and the noise and the traffic, and South Florida's great, don't get me wrong. But it's different than Auburn. And you get up there, and, man, what a peaceful environment, a quiet environment. I can actually hear birds chirp. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that just clicks with some kids. And the Keywan Jenkins said he visited the quarterback. He went there this summer and loved it. Now he's ready to go to his first Auburn game. He is pumped up. He was so excited.
Really?
For the interview today. He was just thrilled to do an interview. We don't normally write about kids that are potential walk-ons, Jeffrey, but this guy is one so big. He's at the premier program, arguably in the state of Florida right now. Now there's 4 or 5 really big ones, and that's one of them, Miami Central. He said, hey, me and Ruben Bain, we are close. They're cousins. They're not just best friends. They're cousins. I mean,
damn.
Maybe this could all work out. NIL changes things too. But again, I think a lot of these kids are probably waiting to see what happens. We're going to find out. It's not that far away. We're already, second week of November here, Jeffrey. It's not going to be too far down the road before you know it, Auburn will have a new head coach.
You're looking at a new head coach 1st of December.
That's right. Keep these guys interested as long as you can, and then let the new staff figure out who they want. But look, the reality is that somebody on the Auburn staff kind of told both of us, I think off the record, look, they may have to sign 40 more guys this year. And people that aren't following too closely, the reason why you can sign a lot more this year, the NCAA's got a 2-year window. You can go over 25 because of the COVID situation. You can sign as many as you want in a single year. You just can't go over you still can't go over the 85 limit. But if you're Auburn and you're losing guys and you got guys leaving early, you got guys transferring, going to the NFL, you may have a ton of spots to fill, and the NCAA is going to allow you to do it. This 2-year window to get things caught up from all the COVID stuff where guys sat out and it didn't count. That extra year didn't count against people. There were a lot of kids, Jeffrey, as you know, entered the transfer portal and never found homes because there weren't enough spots for schools to take them. So, but yeah, I mean, it's weird right now. We're trying to get our hands around everything too. Why would a kid commit right now? What if they're promised the new staff will take you and you love Auburn? And, of course, if you're a new head coach, you may come in and say, oh, God, I didn't know if I wanted these kids. But these guys have to earn their paychecks right now. They got to, not that they're not good players. I'm not suggesting that, but everybody's got their own style, their own kind of kid they want. Oh, I like the tough kid, or I like the whatever. But
6'3" wide receivers.
At a certain point, beggars can't be choosers, too. I mean, they're going to have that many spots to fill. You need bodies out there. And you don't want a new head coach getting there with nothing. You at least have a little bit of a head start thanks to the work that's being put in right now.
December is going to be so much fun for recruiting people, for people who love recruiting, who love to follow recruiting, hell, for people who cover recruiting.
Not us. Wait, you think it's going to be fun for us?
Dude, with a new coach and 3 weekends in December before the early signing day, and a lot of excitement. Auburn with a lot of these guys on the hook, man. I want to follow Ruben Bain's recruitment. He's already been here twice. He's coming back this weekend. He can come back, Keith, for another official visit before early signing day, and he can bring all the guys who have already visited can come back with him. All those guys come. It's to me. No, don't get me wrong. We're going to be working our asses off. It's going to be nonstop. Right, because you've got Thanksgiving, you've got Thanksgiving the last weekend in November. You really ideally expect Auburn to have a coach in place the 1st of December, because that weekend of December the 2nd is going to be instrumental in getting this class closed before the early signing period. So you got to be able to take advantage of that. I guess if you ought to have your ducks lined up by the time that gets here. You ought to be ready to name a head coach December the 1st at the very latest, so that recruits can come in on the 2nd of December, they can come in on the 9th of December, and they can come in on the 16th of December, all before the early signing day. You've got 3 weekends of official visits to really put the finishing touches on this. Hold on. on the early class because, Keith, if they're signing close to 40, half of them is probably going to be transfer portal junior college guys.
Yeah, I would think so. I mean, the mistake they made last time in Auburn was waiting to fire Gus Malzahn, right?
Right.
And then that didn't leave you with much of a window to hire his replacement. So Kevin Steele, who everybody loved to go after back then, actually did a pretty good job trying to put together a class for that early signing period. They did their best without even knowing who the head coach was going to be. You don't even hire Brian Harsin until, a day or two before Christmas. I mean, just a complete –
That was disaster.
I mean, supposedly smart people doing absolutely dumb things. If you knew you were going to get rid of Gus Malzahn, well, first of all, you fired him after after the after the Iron Bowl? I think it was after the Iron Bowl, or did they play Mississippi State after? I can't remember what happened, but they went 6-4. I mean, what was the thing? The last
was Kevin Steele the interim coach for the Iron Bowl?
No. Gus coached the Iron Bowl. Kevin Steele coached the bowl game.
Okay.
But waiting that long, you lost. I mean, at that time of year, every 3-4 days is so significant. They had other guys that were going to commit to Auburn, but they didn't know who the coach was. Then you had guys decommit. I mean, it was a complete disaster, and you ended up getting virtually nothing out of that class. They tried to scrape together some guys for the December for the February signing period. Got Jarquez Hunter. I mean, it wasn't a complete waste. But if you're getting 3 guys that can play and you're signing 25, that ain't good. That's
right.
Good. So this time you hope they're going to get it right. Now they're moving on. Cadillac Williams is running the show right now while Auburn's trying to figure out who the next head coach is going to be. You get somebody in place by the first week of December and you're good to go, because that person will come in with connections. He'll bring in a couple assistants. He'll have the guys at Auburn that will help him through that quick adjustment, that early adjustment period. He won't be worried about building his complete staff at that time. And some of those guys he brings in, coordinators and such, very well could have their own guys that they can get to flip from other schools too. So there's a lot of kids. There's still a lot of good kids out there uncommitted. And there's kids out there that are looking, well, gee, I'm committed to Miami. They ain't looking so good. I don't know if the NIL deal's as good at Auburn. Maybe I'll look at Auburn. I mean, so there's so many unknowns. And
many unknowns.
You get a guy in place, you get some momentum, you get the fan base behind him. Could you imagine if Auburn would have kept waiting to do this, to get rid of Brian Harsin?
No, I was going to say the first step they did correctly, in our opinion, right? You got to get rid of him. Now you got.
I didn't want all the people around him to have to go too, but that's the way it goes.
Right.
Like I said it for weeks. That was a stink they wanted to get off their hands. It's not fair. We like some of those people, by the way, a lot.
Sure.
Okay, that are no longer employed. But the overall Boiseaness of Auburn, they don't want any more of that. And so now you rip that Band-Aid off, you do that, and all of a sudden everybody came together last week. And just following that game on Twitter last night, or Saturday night, excuse me. Yeah, they lost, and it's not Moral Victory University, Jeffrey.
I liked what you said on the corner. Sure did.
There's no doubt that this was a galvanizing week for the Auburn fan base. And then, top it off, Alabama loses as well. So you're thinking, okay, are better days coming? Maybe, So it was a good, productive week. But meantime, the staff is still working hard. Rock Bellantoni getting guys on campus. Zach Etheridge trying to get a Texas commit to visit. Working on Tyler Scott. By the way, we haven't even mentioned it yet. He's going to have Colton Hood, the Michigan State, back next weekend. I like where that's headed. Now he's going to officially visit North Carolina too, and North Carolina's 8-1 ranked. Got a Heisman Trophy contending quarterback who's probably going to be back next year, and he's got another couple years, so you think he'd be back. So there's some work to be done there, but again, momentum, incredibly enough, with no head coach. We did not see any drop off this past week.
None.
Nobody was like, "Oh, well, forget it. I'm not looking at them anymore."
Right.
In fact, it was more of the opposite.
Yeah, I never heard. Oh, Harson's gone. I'm out.
They lost a commitment.
They did.
Wilson, and I think, Jeffrey, it's going to be hard to get him back.
Okay.
A key will be how hard does Oregon push, how hard does FSU push, but that's a tricky one because he was real close. He was tied to the staff more than Auburn. But overall, we didn't hear too much. I'm moving on now. I'm going to wait and see. I'm going to wait and see, and I'm still interested.
Hey, before we get off here, man, I want to clear up on Caleb Schofield's. Man, he's got a huge special this week, and I want to make sure I get it right, man. He is selling all his Ford and Lincoln vehicles, all invoice. Not MSRP, but invoice. F-150s, Explorers, Expeditions, Navigators, all of them. It's all going for invoice. No hidden fees or catches. Hands down will be the deal of the year. So if you're looking for any of those Ford Lincolns, this is the time. You still get the free lifetime warranty on the powertrain with this deal as well. Ford and Lincoln, they have special financing rates on these vehicles, so you won't have to pay a high interest rate either. This is a deal, folks. Only this week. Looking for a Ford or Lincoln, give Caleb Schofield a call, 334-531-0996. Keith, we're going to get out of here so I don't have to throw the flag. We're going to be back all week long, folks. We're going to be back all week long. Keith and I will be back Wednesday for another Inside the 20. We'll be looking at the upcoming weekend that's going to be huge for Auburn recruiting. It's going to be huge for Auburn football. I'm expecting a fantastic atmosphere Saturday night. Auburn fans coming out to support Cadillac Williams and these players who have definitely earned a lot of respect just in game one. Excuse me. Hey, keep checking us out. If you're on YouTube, like and subscribe to our page. Hit that notifications button, man. You'll every video that we upload, you'll get notified. You can start watching it, man. Thank you all for listening. For Zach in the back, for Keith, I'm Jeffrey Lee, man. Y'all stay out of the left lane. See ya.